Hey everyone, welcome to Around the Flock. Thank you all so much for joining in to a late addition to the show. Unfortunately, due to a lot of scheduling conflicts for the three of us, yesterday just ended up not working out. And unfortunately, due to TD's schedule and work life schedules, he will unable to be join us tonight. But I do have a very special guest for us to talk the draft a little bit, mainly a certain pick. But as everyone knows, we are exactly 1 week removed from the 2023 NFL draft. Our first round pick was kind of predictable, kind of not. But the man, the myth, the legend, Mitchell Wolf, former Steelers ATB and co-host of the former Around the Berg podcast, now head or contributor for Boston College 247 Sports and frequent appear on Boston College's Locked On Network. How you doing tonight, Mitch?
I'm doing great. I'm really happy to be back on the show with you guys. I mean, unfortunately, TD couldn't join us, but happy to be on regardless.
And as we all know, Zay Flowers being a Boston College alumni, being heavily used in that Boston College offense, him being our 22nd pick overall, that was phenomenal value. And I just want to get your thoughts and in depth breakdown because you, sir, are our best resource for getting knowledge on this man, for everything else that we didn't catch under or in that film breakdown.
Yeah, so I mean, like you said, I'm a BC alum. I've been following BC for years. Been working covering them actually for a fewer years, but yeah, I mean, since Zay, his first game as a true freshman was against Virginia Tech, and he was had a crazy debut. He had 116 all-purpose yards, 3 carries for 25 yards, and 2 catches for 91 yards, and that included a 33-yard touchdown to open the game. And so, it's funny because back then, he's a true freshman. He was, I think, listed at like 5'10", 150. And so
Hmm.
you're like, who is this little kid? And true freshman, and he just burst onto the scene. And that year was a little weird, and it became a trend of BC's quarterbacks getting hurt because he really kind of tailed off towards the end of the year as the team had to go with a backup quarterback and switched over to a much run heavier offense that they just weren't really throwing the ball down the field at all. Then the next year, there's a coaching change, offensive scheme completely changes. New quarterback comes in, has another big opening game against Duke, has 2 big touchdowns. And going into that year, Zay talked a lot about how excited he was to not just be like a jet sweep specialist, because that's a lot of how he was used during his freshman year. And from that point, every year he's gotten significantly better as a receiver. He's gotten more nuanced in his route running. His hands have gotten better. He still has the occasional concentration drop, but he's got it doesn't happen as much, but he's gotten better at contested catches. One thing that he's really special at is his body control and his ability to track the ball in the air and perfectly time his jump and get his body in great position to make a contested catch. And because I think it's because he's so small that he knows he has to do these things with his body, and he's gotten so good at it. There was the touchdown reception against Rutgers in week 1 where he had the DB in a blender, just had no idea where the ball was. The catch through double coverage against Louisville, and this year again another tough year in terms of BC's quarterbacks getting hurt, but he was still able to put together one of the best single seasons for a receiver in BC history. Went over 1,000 yards, and he finished in terms of career, he was first in catches, yards, and tied for first in touchdowns. And he became the first BC receiver drafted in the first round, or sorry, BC receiver drafted period since 1987. In terms of a person, I mean, Zay is, he's a really fun-loving guy, really nice guy. He's the fourth. He's the fourth of 14 children, and that's why he wears number 4. So he has 13 brothers and sisters. And the big story going into this past college football season is that with NIL and everything, he was getting recruited by a lot of bigger programs that wanted him to come there, and essentially he turned down what amounted to be like $600,000 to go somewhere else to stay at BC. Now BC, I can't say how much, but he did get some money from BC to stay. But he's a guy that is very loyal. He's very true to his word. For example, this past year, he was first offered to come to the East West Shrine game, and he went to that. He even got recruited by the Senior Bowl, and he said, "No, I accepted the Shrine game first. That's where I made my commitment. That's what I'm going to do." And it was a weird thing because he didn't practice the first day, and then he practiced the second day for about half the session, and then shut it down and didn't play in the game. So it was a little bit of a weird thing, but it just the fact that he turned down the Senior Bowl when he was, I would say, pretty comfortably the best senior receiver in the class was pretty surprising. But he's a great guy. He's gonna be. I mean, as I've said, as you mentioned, I'm a Steelers fan. I cover the Steelers a little bit still, and I was absolutely heartbroken when the Ravens took him because I really don't want to have to go from being Zay's biggest supporter to being a quote hater, if you will.
Well, here's the thing: you can love the player and dislike an organization, or have that built-up rivalry with an organization, like I do with Chris Wormley, for example.
Uh,
I absolutely love the guy. I enjoy how he plays the game, but when it comes to Ravens versus Steelers, that's when all the lights go down
mhm.
and it just turns into normal Steelers versus Ravens. But I would say you could still do the same or similar outlook
Yeah,
with
I mean, I
Zaire.
just don't. I guess I just don't really want to have to be rooting against Zay at all. Even if it's just 2 weeks out of the regular season. Um, but yeah, I mean, that was actually on Locked On BC the night before the draft. We did a prediction, final prediction where you think is going to go, and I said the Ravens, and so that night of prediction held true. And again, I think I kind of said it in the hopes that I'd be wrong and it wouldn't come true, and then of course it did. But in terms of like how he's going to be used, I think that the additions that the Ravens have made this offseason are very interesting with how that pertains to Zay because the team still doesn't really have that big X receiver. And that's
Mhm.
something that you've seen a lot with Todd Monken offenses, going back to when he was with the Buccaneers, going back to how Georgia was, even using a guy like George Pickens, or, they've had some guys transfer out, but Adonai Mitchell, they have another guy who was a really funny name. I forget what it is, but um, they don't have that 6'2", 6'3" guy. You've got all these guys that are, 6 feet, 5'11", 6'1", 180 to 190 some pounds. Um, and, I think he's going to be the starting slot receiver. I think the thing that Lamar is going to love is that Zay is exceptionally good at getting open quick over the middle. Um, and as I think some of the best parts of Zay's game, the most fun to watch are him after the catch because the only comparison I have from after the catch, and I guess I have two now that I've thought about it, but one was Allen Iverson in terms of
Mhm.
just how he's able to cross people up in the open field and just stop on a complete dime. And then to bring it back to football, I'm sure you seem like a guy who would know this guy. Do you remember Dante Hall from the Chiefs?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
do.
it's a lot like that where he can just, it's like you're controlling him in Madden where he can just go completely in a different direction at the drop of a hat and just make several people just look complete idiots in the open field. So,
You're right about that, and I'm going to agree with you on that. But friend of the show, Ray Wiley, he also had a comment. Zay has that speed to stretch, but I accept and give us more that Wes Welker type of receiver,
mhm.
and I can see that as well because of all the stuff that you had explained throughout the timeline of his career at Boston College and the way that he could be utilized here with the Ravens now.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is like as long as he's not being used as that, contested catch ball winner X receiver all the time, like he
Mhm.
can pretty much give you anything you want. I think Munkin knows better than to be like, oh yeah, this guy's gonna be our downfield contested catch threat. That's just not his game, especially against NFL corners. And I think he does have the speed, the skills at the line of scrimmage, and the route running to be able to play outside and handle press. But I still think he's just going to be more comfortable in the slot, given that it's harder to press there. You can take advantage of him more with two-way goes. Then also you can, it's easier to use slot guys with jet sweeps, revert, the jet rocket passes, the touch
Mhm.
passes, RPO bubble screens, all that kind of stuff. So, I think it'll be interesting to see what his target share is with this team because I think you pay Odo Beckham, was it $15 million to come in?
It
I
was
think
15 million guaranteed,
yeah,
worth up to 18.
yeah. So I mean, you're gonna have to get him targets. I'm not sure exactly what Nelson Aguilar's role is gonna be, but I think having him as your number 3/number 4 option with kind of alternating with Rashad Bateman, I think that's a good role for him. And you know, I, I keep thinking, I know, are you the big Devin Duvernay fan or is that TD? I
That
forget.
is TD.
Okay,
TD is the huge Devin Duvernay fan,
yeah.
but for me, have always, especially with this past season, Devin Duvernay has done well to fill in that 1 or 2 spot
Hmm.
if needed.
Yeah, I say I don't know if he'll be asked to do that much anymore with how this receiver room is built out now. But I think getting him and even just him and Zay on the field as deep threats or guys who are such good. I think of Devin Duvernay more of just kind of like the way he's able to be such a good kick returner.
Hmm.
Use him run after the catch in that way. And Zay is somewhat similar, even though he is 5'9", a buck 83. But he's put on a lot of weight this offseason in terms of muscles. There's some pictures going around where he was listed at 170 at BC his final year, and he's up to 182 or 83, and it's all muscle. Like he is, I mean, he is taut to the his skin is just taut on those muscles. So it's really cool to see how he's been able to do that. And he's still tested quite well at the combine, still at 4.4 speed, even though he's able to tack on that weight. So again, as a Steelers fan, I'm going to be very disappointed to have to go up against Zay because I think he's going to have a major impact, not only as a rookie, but as just an NFL player for his entire career.
Oh, absolutely, and that's what we're all looking for here at or in the Ravens organization, in the Ravens fan base. And we're all just super excited to have Zay Flowers as our number 1 pick and to contribute it one way or another, just like we're going to get Bateman in with a new set, with that new offense. Now you do have some reinforcements here with the that Steelers fan base. I'm going to feel a little outnumbered since TD isn't here with me, but we got Shane Kubis here as well.
Oh, look who it is.
What's going on, Shane?
My invitation must have got lost in the mail or something because I see a notification on YouTube and I'm like, oh, the flock's going live, and I see Mitch's face. I'm like, hold on a second. Are you telling now? Granted, I know why because Zay is obviously a Raven, which sad for really all of us. I think,
Yeah.
right, Mitch? Like not
Yeah,
the best
absolutely.
situation for really Steelers fans, especially. But I will say you did let us get Joey Porter Jr. So that at least partially part of why we got him. So I will take that. Considering, but yeah, that yeah, I know
Yeah,
that you
I
guys are
mean,
talking about him, but
it's tough having to think of Zay Flowers in a Ravens jersey or seeing Joey Porter Jr. Ravens jersey. Talk about Sophie's choice.
yeah, I mean, I'll take Zay in a jersey with the Raven just because it doesn't mean as much to me as a Steelers
Yeah.
fan.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
But I
this is
also,
a specifically me
yeah,
problem.
especially for you, but like I was, he was my wide receiver one.
Yeah.
Outs like him and Smith and Jigba are kind of like if you need the reliable slot, you go with
Mhm.
Jackson. But he was my number one like actual like 3 level of the field wide receiver, and it definitely sucked to see him go there. But good for him. I think it's going to be a good spot with Lamar re-signing there. I'm hoping that new offense is at least more fun to watch from, especially from a passing perspective. At least, there's nothing else. So.
And we do have another comment going back to the whole Duvernay Bateman topic there, Mitch, from Ray again. My issue is this: I see too many people being dismissive of both Duvernay and Bateman with OBJ and Flowers now on the team, saying that they haven't proven themselves yet to step aside, or yet, so step aside. My issue is we had nothing but a vanilla passing offense, and according to next gen stats, one of the worst QB in terms of accuracy, 15 plus yards downfield. Hard to dismiss them. So, with that also being said, now that we've got the Todd Monken offense, we could be seeing them utilize that more 10 personnel and so on and so forth, where we just basically go 5 wide like what they used to do with Flacco. And
Yeah,
Well, the guy didn't mention the pass interference offense that Flacco ran.
this is true. He liked to do that. Yeah, this is
He
a fact.
did like to do that. I'm not
Granted,
gonna
I mean,
lie.
Finally,
if it works,
this is the first Ravens fan I've actually heard
If
admit
it-
that.
the thing I'll say though, if it works, it works. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not going to criticize him, but
I mean,
Yeah.
to be fair, in his last like 2 or 3 seasons, Ben absolutely did that. But that's
I mean,
because his arm was just gone.
yeah, he just threw the ball up and like he just didn't get it to the spot, and
Yeah,
the receivers had to
exactly.
come back. And get
Flacco was more intentional about it. Ben kind of didn't
Yeah.
really have a choice. but
Listen, Flacco and Torrey Smith had it down to an art.
They did. Yeah, so I can't.
Torrey
I can't
Smith,
say anything.
DPI merchant.
He was crazy. Yeah, but no, like I think the receiving core is interesting because ideally, and I heard you guys talking about Devin before I got on. He's a guy to me. If he's a manufactured touch guy,
Mhm.
he's great because I think he's really good in that role. I don't think he's necessarily a full-time receiver, even in the slot. I just feel like he has some limitations. But if he's your fourth receiver this year, you're in good shape. Like that's a good fourth receiver.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like Duvernay has definitely. I would say of all these players that we're talking about, Duvernay has proven, and this is that he has proven himself the most in a Ravens uniform.
Yeah.
But there just isn't
Consistency-wise,
much
too.
less. There isn't much more. I think that he can really go above and beyond in terms
Yeah.
of just his skill level. Whereas and again, like OBJ hasn't played football in 2 years. He hasn't made a Pro Bowl since I think 2016. Flowers is obviously a rookie, and Bateman has had a lot of injury problems. So there are a lot of question marks there. But this is the time of year where all fan bases are like exceptionally optimistic. Every draft pick is a hit. Every free agent signing is going to work out perfectly. And like I think that taking an optimistic view of this receiver from a Ravens standpoint, at the very least, these are all guys that you hit them with good timing on a slant. They any of them could take it to the house like that because they all have that great speed out of the catch, that understanding of angles and ability to make guys miss the open field like that. And again, the thing and this is going back to when he was at Louisville, the thing I always noticed about Lamar is that he is very accurate going over the middle of the field, which is something a lot of quarterbacks struggle with. But he would always kind of weird. It was so funny watching this. He would like laser a dig like 20 yards down the field, and the next pass would be like a dump to the tight end in the flat, and he would just sail it 10 yards over his head. And it's just like, I don't know what to make of this guy. But I mean, again, I think that getting Lamar in this offense with just a better, professional understanding of how to develop route concepts, how to have proper spacing with routes, I just think that's going to make a world difference. And especially for like the part of the comment where it says, he's not accurate in terms of lots of air yards down the field. I think that when you have a better designed offense that's going to space those routes out more logically, then that's going to help. Ideally, you have him healthier, and if he can stay healthy, which is a huge if. And I think having, ideally J.K. Dobbins is finally back and back to 100%. I know he came back last year, was a little limited to an extent, but now you've kind of got him all the way back. So, I think you kind of have everything is shaping up on offense, at least for the Ravens, to kind of really get back to that 2019 year where just everything was humming, which sucks for me to say.
Yeah. This year with the receivers that we have now, especially with how we drafted, it's going to be an exciting offense to watch, whether it be just on paper, and we'll see what happens when season comes. But the addition of your wide receiver there, Mitch, and was just the cherry on top of this receiving core with this new offensive coordinator that we have. Because, we've all talked about it in one shape, form, or another, but Todd Monken versus Greg Roman is definitely night and day. Yes, they're both older, but Todd knows how to adapt. Todd knows how to create route concepts that will work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's cool about Monken is his ability to use so many different personnel groupings. You mentioned going 10, and that's obviously works. But I mean, I'm a noted Mark Andrews hater, but like for the purposes of this offense, he's this can work really well. If you get Charlie Kolar, Isaiah Likely on the field, that could be really fun. Is Gus Edwards still around, or is he?
He is, yeah.
Okay. He is. He becomes a free agent per 2024.
Okay. All right, I
Yeah,
wasn't
he's still
sure.
on the team.
Yeah, so then I guess there isn't really that like receiving back. But honestly, Shane, kind of to your point, I think
Justice Hill too. He can do a little bit of
Yeah,
that.
a
He's
little
not.
bit.
He's just not good with the ball in his hands as much.
Yeah, I
as
feel like
he'd
he hasn't been proven yet. But even to Shane, kind of what you said earlier, like I feel like they could even use Devin Duvernay in that kind of role where he could
I
kind of
think
be
so.
there. Again, this is high praise, but he could be their Debo, where he could have line him up in the backfield and stuff, fumble
Hill.
Oh,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
if
Justice
TD
has
is
had his
listening to
issues with the
this,
ball
you're
in his hands.
making his mouth or water with the thought of having
Yeah. Well, I think
Duvernay be the
too,
Debo.
Brandon. Though, like the nice thing about you guys now is because the way you filled out the receiver core, you really only need 2 of these top 4 guys to really ball out in this season to have a really high level passing offense. Because if OBJ doesn't hit, because he just doesn't have it anymore, which is possible, you never know. If Duvernay doesn't really do much, but if Flowers has a really good rookie season and Bateman can stay healthy, because like I'm a big Rashad Bateman guy. Like I watch a lot of Big Ten football, Wisconsin fan. Did not like watching him beat the shit out of my team, but he's a really good player if he can stay healthy, right? And I think if he can be ideally your wide receiver 1, like for the long term, and Zay can slot into that number 2 spot, or one of those 2 can be a true receiver 1,
And
I think you're in good shape.
It's not like you guys can have the worst injury luck in the NFL for 3 seasons in a row.
I can't imagine. I don't think we're that lucky, right? I don't think we're that lucky.
Steve Saunders is finally gone, right?
Isn't he?
Yes.
Right?
No.
Okay.
Hold on. I found a note in one of my old notebooks from like 2 years ago that I showed on this show. It said #fire Steve Saunders.
I think
And
you
they
tweeted that. I remember you tweeting that.
And they finally did, and I found that evidence, and it's just reminded me that they did finally get rid of him. Scott Elliott is the new head strength and conditioning coach. So, and by what I've been hearing, a lot of the team and staff and players are all happy that Scott Elliott is the new strength and conditioning coach.
This most recent comment from Ray.
Yeah.
I just want to. There are no remaining working brain cells in that.
No,
man.
I don't think so.
They are
Not
all
at
gone.
all.
Also, that's 3 offenses ago now. 2 offenses ago now, I guess.
Yeah.
Like even if he could remember what they were, like it's a different offense now. So
yeah, I don't think it'd be helping.
When they fired Saunders, I think every Ravens fan and player rejoiced like it was the second coming of Jesus.
Yeah, the injuries with you guys the past couple of years, it's just like it doesn't make sense. Like
they all came from that man.
Like injury luck is something that every team deals with to a certain degree, and you rarely get the good graces more than a year at a time. But to get that bad for like 2 years in a row is just crazy.
And it was like, and that's why it was so clear it was the strength staff is that it was everybody.
Yeah, it wasn't just
every
like
position group just getting decimated. It wasn't just like 21 Shane, the year that we podcasted here, like the defensive line just got decimated.
Their entire defensive line just stopped
the
existing.
2019 season when the quarterback room got decimated by
Literally
injuries.
It's crazy.
So,
good for you guys on that front.
With everybody on the Ravens getting hurt for 2 years in a row,
a lot of former players came out and were rejoicing and telling their stories now that Steve was finally fired.
Yeah, I remember that.
They were bringing it up that that they had to go through all this because he was a part of the organization. They didn't want to make him look bad, but and once that survey came out about all the different things, even all those comments that Rashad Bateman finally came out with when his Twitter account was set on private, he called out Saunders.
He let that thing go on everybody though.
He really did. He was like,
he had time for everybody.
He let the smoke out.
Yeah,
but trying to go back on topic with the wide receiver room and Zay Flowers. It's just an awesome pick. I can't express how excited I am to have this young gentleman, even though I did hear rumors going around that after he got drafted, he didn't realize that what division he actually was in.
Yeah, he didn't. I think they tried to ask him to name the teams of the AFC North, and he couldn't, which... I'll say he did graduate from BC. He was there for 4 years, but I feel like on draft night you're kind of just
exactly.
You're in a fog.
I also think a surprising amount of college football players don't actually watch the NFL that much.
Yeah, and
I've seen a lot of guys say that.
And I mean, Zay is from Florida. and then he went to college in New England. So, you don't really come into contact. And, you know, I guess BC plays, like, they play Pitt, they play Louisville, and those are really like the only teams kind of in the AFC North footprint. So
Region.
yeah. I mean, and he played with Phil Dracovic for a few years. So, I mean, might have come across that, but yeah, I mean, I kind of get it, and I also think it was just a draft night fog thing. You're just like,
It
I don't know.
honestly, I can agree with that. I honestly can. And plus, also with mentioning the fact that these guys don't probably get a lot of time to watch the NFL games
Hmm.
because they're
Yeah,
so busy with either schoolwork or their own film.
both. Yeah, you're studying film, and then you're studying, doing your
Yeah,
schoolwork. Yeah.
it's tough. Yeah.
But this whole draft process was extremely awesome. Did you want to stick around for the remaining picks, or Mitch, or did you want to try to get in a few more extra comments on Zay Flowers, or did you want to sign off?
Yeah,
And
I mean,
also,
I've said all I can about Zay. I gushed about him as much
Yeah.
as anybody, I think,
Yeah.
on the internet
Yeah.
airwaves for years, honestly. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think I'll dip out. I will say, and I said to you in the pre-show, I thought the Ravens had a solid draft. Got kind of like the Steelers got. I mean, I was talking about this to somebody else. The whole AFC North, great drafts. Everybody
They really
killed it.
kind of, even the Browns did really well
Browns
with
had,
what picks they
with
had.
with not having a ton of ammo, all got great value. Bengals, I loved all their picks, and the Ravens, again, a solid draft despite not having a ton of picks.
Very weird draft for them by their standards because of the
Yeah,
lack of picks, but
yeah, and then
they still did well with it.
my favorite pick was trading back in to get Andrew Voorhees because I had him graded as a top.
Yeah,
I think he was
he's
a
going to
top.
be a starter for you once
Yeah.
he's healthy. I really
He
think
was a
that. He
top
will start.
80 player for me, I think,
Mhm.
regardless of injury. And like he's a violent finisher. Like he fits with what the Ravens want to do. So
Yeah.
I really was impressed by just how the entire AFC North just absolutely crushed it.
Mhm.
But that'll be it for me.
All right, sir.
Yeah, I got to
And-
head off too. I wanted to jump on and mess with you guys a little bit, but
well,
yeah.
it was
Thank
a
you for having us,
pleasure.
Brandon.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It was a pleasure having both you guys here. If you give us a quick rundown of where they can all find you before you all sign off, that would be greatly appreciated.
Absolutely. If you want more Steelers takes, you can find me at Mitchell T Wolf, WOLFE on Twitter. Like you said, I have tons of work on Zay on Eagle Insider, which is Boston College's 24/7 sports website. And then if you are interested for some of the Steelers coverage, get behind enemy lines. I am a contributor for Fansided, Steel Curtain, along with Shane.
Yep.
So yeah, you can find me there.
Yeah, like Mitch said, me and him are both parts of Still Curtain for Fanside. I do the podcast with Site Expert. You can watch that for sure if you want to know more about Steelers and what they have going on, which I'm sure some of you probably do and others don't. Kind of depends on what you're feeling that week, probably.
How much of a sicko are you?
Exactly. Yeah,
Oh,
like I
this
want
is
to know
also-
everything about.
Oh, this podcast is also going into the AFC conflict war rooms on
yeah.
Facebook.
I bet, yeah. But yeah, you can follow me there. You can see stuff there, and then I also, interesting enough, getting away from football, I run the site for the Fanside Grizzlies page as well. So if anybody has any fan or NBA fans or anything like that, you can check me out there as well.
All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you so much for joining in, and it's been a pleasure as always. We'll try to get something going together with a Around the Flock versus Around the Berg reunion episodes
Reunion episode,
come the regular season. But I hope you all have a great night.
Thank you. You too, Brandon.
Yep.
Thank
Later.
you. All right, guys. So it's always an honor to have those two guys on the show, whether it be just with myself or with TD. It's just an amazing time with those guys, and much appreciated again with Mitchell and all his insider info on our first round pick, Zay Flowers. But since we got all that, let's go ahead and react to the remaining picks on the Ravens 2023 draft class. With Ray being here in the comments with me still, if you're still present, I will hopefully utilize a lot of your comments and help out with the show. Now, we didn't have a second round pick at all, so had a little bit of time to go into that and just kind of watch who fell. But our first pick in the third round, that for me was an initial head scratcher. I didn't see a lot of what was going on with that. They had taken at pick 86 linebacker Trenton Simpson out of Clemson. It still was kind of a head scratching pick considering um, we still have Patrick Queen, even though he's, as of y'all known by now, his 5th-year option was declined, so he is on a contract year. So we'll be seeing how that turns out. Will we see him become a great second piece to Roquan, or will we be seeing our third round pick, Trenton Simpson, take the lead there? Or will there's um, a lot of talk going around that he's going to end up fitting in kind of like what Chuck Clark did, but more as a linebacker role. Now, if you haven't seen Trent Simpson draft video, it will inspire you. It will make you want to see him become the best player, belong in the Hall of Fame. I did see the draft video. I see where I also saw where Eric DaCosta told him not to hang up on him because it was very loud at the Simpson household or the venue that they were having that draft party. So, and then just watching all the film, all the highlight clips, it was pretty awesome. This guy can be a versatile linebacker, whether it be inside, outside. Kind of playing that tight little, I wouldn't say slot position, but just having that outside spy, Russian, you name it. Basically what Chuck Clark did, but not as a DB. So it would be extremely fun to watch this guy do what he can do best, especially in the Mikey Mack defense. So after looking into it more, honestly, it was a good pick. I'm gonna enjoy it. Now, if Patrick Queen doesn't have a contract year and doesn't get re-signed, we can count on Simpson to fill in that role, or even have Christian Welsh take a spot in it. Even Malik Harrison, even though I feel like he's a stronger, strong side or Sam linebacker, considering um, Roquan is going to be Mike. And here Ray says Queen is gone. No way he stays with Roquan and Simpson. So we could see him. So we'll just have to play the wait and see game. I'm excited for this kid though. I think he's gonna fly around. Has a nice flow, east to west. He's gonna fill holes real nicely, and no pun intended on that. At pick number 4 with 124, it seems like we pretty much stayed in order from the whole thing. They took Ole Miss edge rusher Tavius Robinson, especially since the situation we kind of have with our edge rushing room. There, you can what we have talked about on this show time in time out. You cannot have enough edge rushers. You cannot have enough presence in that room because nowadays, especially, you got to have people that can get to the quarterback, whether it be 3 down, 4 down, or even 5. You got to be able to get to the quarterback, and sometimes these 3 big guys up front, unfortunately, they can't always get to it because they've got technical, strong, aggressive guys that they're going up against, such as if we want to take a look in our division, Orlando Brown Jr. had signed with the Bengals, so you got guys going up against him. Adding to or Robinson is going to be a nice little rotational piece, especially with Owe, Ojabo, and Bowser all going in that rotation. So we'll see what happens come time. We could also see JPP come back, but in regards to Houston, but we'll just have to take it one step at a time. But I like how this guy plays. He fits well with the Ravens play or style and the play like a Raven mentality. So definitely like this pick. At In the fifth round at pick 157, they took cornerback Q Blue Kelly out of Stanford. I think this guy is more of a technical sound cornerback. He's going to play really well, real aggressive, and just fit well with the depth at corner. Obviously, they had, or we'll get to the cornerback position here shortly. But since Marcus Peters still remains a free agent, we obviously got to lock down some depth. They obviously still have Jalen Lamar Davis and Pepe Williams. Um, Brandon Stevens still listed as a DB, could be rotational. Unsure if they'll have Kyle Fuller still in house, but the only for sure long-term option that we still have is Marlon Humphrey. So taking Kelly in here in the fifth round, no, yep, fifth round is a awesome pick. I still have to do a little bit of more detailed film analysis on how you'll do, but off initial reactions, I like it. Can't complain. Now, I know I'm going to butcher the sixth round pick's name really bad, so bear with me a little bit. Malsala, a Muave, Lalu, or Laulu. Yeah. Anyway, someone correct me or help me pronounce that right, but offensive tackle, you can't have enough depth at tackle as well, or just on the offensive line in general, considering the only position that is a for sure back and forth is going to be the left guard position. Um, it's going to be interesting to see how it comes along with that spot. Obviously, I think this is going to be more of a depth spot, considering we have Ronnie Stanley on the left side, and we also have Morgan Moses on the right side. Morgan Moses didn't have that great of a season last year, even considering he's been one of the highest rated reliable offensive tackles in the league, especially with the Jets. So having him have that bit of a slump, we'll see what happens if he can pick back up this season here in 2023. And having this young gentleman come in and fill a little bit of depth role is going to be nice. Now, with the final pick where they traded back into the draft, I still haven't heard or read anything who they traded with and how they traded to get back into the draft. At pick 299, offensive lineman Andrew Voorhees out of University of Southern California. That guy is going to be an impact starter whenever he gets healthy. Like we all came to an agreement there a little bit ago. This guy, whenever he gets healthy, whenever he recovers from it, and once he learns the playbook, beware. This guy can very well take the starting left guard position away from the likes of Ben Cleveland or Pat McCary, which I think they'll use Pat still as a Swiss Army knife, plug and play wherever needed if someone were to go down. But just right off the bat, that's what we're looking at. Excuse me. Um, or what they could do is they could mold him into be Kevin Zeitler's replacement, considering that I believe it's a contract year for Zeitler. So we could see Zeitler come back and re-sign on a nicer deal or a team friendly deal or a deal that works for both parties, or we can see him walk away. Either either or, we've got a very very lucrative insurance policy there on the offensive line. So I'm happy with all of this and how it unfolded. Excuse me. I've got to put my mic on mute for a moment so I can blow my nose. Thank you for bearing with the silence for a moment. Allergy season is still running rampant, especially in the Midwest. So let's continue our rundown of the overall Ravens draft class. As we all know, they took Zay Flowers out of Boston College or with the 22nd pick, Trenton Simpson at the 86th pick, linebacker out of Clemson. At the 124, edge rusher out of Ole Miss, Tavius Robinson. Pick number 157, cornerback Caillou Blue Kelly out of Stanford. 199, MAL out of Oregon. And 229, Andrew Voorhees out of USC. Overall, I'm giving this grade A minus to an A, just because this draft class was honestly, in my opinion, and multiple other people, was a positionless draft. We literally filled any type of positional need, considering we did, but we didn't have that big of a need for a lot of these spots. Considering we could have just went all on or about in free agency. And there were some nice depth pieces that were still developing from previous draft classes. But it that draft class, a solid A to A minus, just depending on how obviously everything turns out. It could blow in our faces. It could be the best draft class ever. In my opinion, this is the best draft class under EDC so far. So take it as you must. But the big thing we're here, or another big thing we're here to talk about, is the Lamar Jackson contract extension. Considering everything that we have dealt with, everything that we have just struggled with the past 2 years with this contract drama, Lamar Jackson is finally back to being a Raven for 5 years, a $260,000 Garrett or deal with, I believe it was 182 guaranteed, 180 guaranteed, somewhere around those lines. Anyways, I'm going to go back and reference Ray's comment from earlier. Lamar's contract details have finally emerged. 22 million cap hit for this year versus the 32.4 million on the tag. 10.4 million saved gives us room in other places to sign a veteran pass rusher slash interior D lineman. Now, I like the fact that Lamar is back. The Ravens organization and Lamar Jackson have broken barriers for not only them for the NFL, but the barriers that everyone has known about this organization. They have finally taken the risk that they needed to take with confidence. And they believe that Baltimore can turn into that big salary cap, or like larger salary cap or larger salary room, turn into a larger market thanks to Lamar Jackson, which he has already done so, and thanks to the TV deals. We may be seeing more money come the way to the Ravens. So that's why we were able to give Lamar his bag, his record breaking contract. He is the highest paid player in the league thanks to this contract. So I'm happy. As Lamar said in that video, there's a lot of flock going on. And there were some interest. I didn't get a lot of the catch a lot of the press conference. I tried to catch a little bit of it, but obviously today we're a little bit busy here in the Myers household. But Lamar has liked so far with how it's going so far with the rebuilding of the offense. It means a lot that his head coach and GM wanted him to be there. Um, but he made it clear that he wanted to be a Raven. There was an exact quote said, I really didn't care for other teams. I wanted to be here. I wanted to be a Raven." Um, he gives a lot of credit to his mom, who fitted as his agent when needed, or just giving him advice. This man and his mother are a wonderful duo. But obviously, I don't think she's a licensed NFLPA agent, but with him technically negotiating his own deal, he looks up to her, and that's one thing that we can always talk about. Family is number one. So do with that as you will. But there was a lot that I want to dig into more with that, revisiting that press conference. And I will do my best to get some around the flock shorts out to react to the press conferences. May do another short episode on the presser reactions. But as of right now, oh, sorry, excuse me. It's getting a little late. Um, with what we're looking at, it's just awesome to see Lamar finally sign his extension, sign the player wall of signatures who have signed with the team. I am happy to have him here. And and with the SpongeBob gif, he made it clear that that was towards the Ravens flock, meaning that they had moved forward. And let's see. Excuse me, folks. Um, there was another signing, as you all see in the headline. The Ravens had signed cornerback Rakia Sin to a 1-year contract. I am still waiting on the release of that or details of that contract as far as what it's worth. We will keep you updated with that, with reactions to it. But this doesn't necessarily look like a replacement for Marcus Peters. It more or less looks like just an overall depth rotational piece, considering they have Mullen or from the Raiders as well. I think that's how you pronounced it. Anyway, we have another player or former Raider, and this guy or Yasin has been a highly rated corner all along the league. Even though he's bounced around a little bit here and there, he's still a phenomenal cornerback. He's going to play really well. I enjoyed what he did with the Colts. Enjoyed what he did with the Raiders. So I think he'll play a vital role in this defense. see. There was another set of Ravens news that we wanted to tell you about. Oh, there it is. So, Mr. Kelly, MAL, and Andrew Voorhees have all signed their rookie contracts today. So, even though we had just all went over all that draft class, we'll be able to see soon what their actuals numbers look like once they are officially filed and we are able to get width of what's going on with that. In other news, there's not many other things going on, but we will keep you updated as things go on. I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping up because I'm getting a little bit on the sleepy side from things. So, if you want to continue hearing me incoherently ramble about Ravens, bourbon, just and anything that's I can think of at the time, please go follow me on my personal Twitter handle on the screen presented. That username can also be used for TikTok and Instagram. My personal TikTok, as of right now, is where the Around the Flock shorts will be posted. And you could also follow me on Facebook, or since I am experimenting with the new professional mode, go ahead, drop a follow there. Would love to talk Ravens ball with you over on that app. Could also follow the Ravens ATB Twitter page. You can find it there on screen. And also, if you are looking to join or looking to write, pod, produce, do data stats, much like our friend here, or Ray, please send us a message. We'd love to have you as part of the Around the Block team. Just have to get you going through this interview process and application process. But that does it for me for the end of the night, and I hope you all have a fantastic evening. We'll talk to you next time.